At 27, I became the president of the sisterhood. And the one most valuable thing that happened to me was I was sent as a delegate to the National Conference of Sisterhoods. It was in Philadelphia. And the theme of that convention was Naase Vishma. That was, we will listen and we will do. That's what the Israelites said at the foot of Mount Sinai when they received the commandments that Moses brought down for them. There were many sermons written and many talks given on what does it mean we will do and we will listen? Is it more likely that you will listen and then do? Not in Judaism. In Judaism, the philosophy is you cannot understand and know until you do. So there are many physical ways to become in the place where you can understand and be faithful. There's a physical component to understanding. Let me tell you a little anecdote about my first acting class. The teacher declared, all emotion is physical and must be expressed physically. Well, some smart aleck raises her hand and says, what about if you're tied up in a chair and they put a gag in your mouth? And the professor said, and what is your stomach doing? Or your pulse? Or your sweat glands? So you see, it's not just moving around. There is something physical going on. And as I said with doing and understanding, I'll give you an example. Say it's time to pray in the morning. Hardly anybody wakes up in the morning thinking, oh, I want to pray. But if you do the ritual, you wash, you meet 10 other men, or 9 other men who are ready to pray, and in this day we include the women. You put on the tallis, the phylacteries, you open the book, you take your place in the congregation, and that puts you in the climate of wanting to pray. You don't get there by thinking about it. You have to do the physical. So, at this convention, I began to think seriously about how this pertains to acting. Our guidebook was Stanislavski's An Actor Prepares. Stanislavski was the head of the Moscow Art Theater, which was, at the turn of the century, the foremost avant-garde modern theater. In other words, they didn't declaim, they didn't orate, they acted naturally, like we have in the theater today in films. Stanislavski said, you don't become another person. You act as if you are that person. And the way to get there is to do the physical things. Get the stance, get the attitude. Think about how they walk, how they talk, the sound of their voice, any attributes, physical attributes they may have. All this helps you get into the thinking of the person, but you have to have the physical first. And then, in order to perform, you have to take the action. You can't think and plan about performing. You have to do something to perform. And the first thing you do is take an action. Well, I thought how marvelously this coincides with what I know about my religion. Of course you have to take an action. Think about the Sabbath. The day before the sun falls on a Friday night, You clean your house. You prepare the best meal of the week. Everybody gets washed and bathed. The children put on all clean clothes. The table is set in the best way it has been set all week. White cloth, flowers, china. Now you're ready to welcome the Sabbath. But until you go through that kind of ritual and physical work, you may not be in the mood to welcome the Sabbath as much as you would be now.